Hello, today I'm going to take a look at these Mungyo oil pastels. These are their water-soluble kind. I'd ordered these ages ago and then forgot about them, and they just arrived in the post yesterday. I'm in the middle of packing for going away, and yesterday I spent quite a bit of time deciding what art materials to take with me. And basically I want to take all of them because I'm going for about 6 weeks. That seems too long to be without anything. So I thought I'd take a look at these and decide if these need to come along with me as well. And while I've got it all out on the table, I might as well show you what I'm taking with me. So my watercolour paint palettes collection has kind of grown in rather a haphazard way. I initially spent a long time putting effort into choosing a small palette, and that is the one that I take with me most places. But then I got into travel palettes, and so I raided from the pans that I had. I raided different half pans and put them into travel palettes, into different collections. What I guess you'd call my studio palette. So my full collection of watercolours squeezed out from the tubes that I've owned, I keep in these blue palettes that are like that. But obviously I don't want to have to take all of those with me. Though now my travel palette collection is growing nearly to that size anyway. But I realised yesterday that seeing as I've got most paints in one form or another in my travel palettes, I put this palette together just of all the paints that I was missing. So it is an incredibly random assortment of paints in this last one. I painted them all out and then put them into some kind of order that I liked. So I will actually be taking with me all of the tube paints that I own now in one palette or another. These are all out at the moment because I've topped them up and they're all drying out still. So I'm going to France by car, and I've got a bit of space in the car. So I've allowed myself 1 tub's worth of art materials. And this is what I've packed. So I've got my Just Go Sketching bag, and then because I've been getting into oil pastels lately, I'm taking my Mungyo oil pastels. And I've got my Snellier oil pastels as well. I've ended up putting my extra open stock Snellier oil pastels in this Prismacolor tin, so that I can keep them in some kind of order and find them easily enough. So they've jiggled around a bit. I'm taking all of my my Neocolour 2s, and that's some open stock ones as well. Then, as if that wasn't enough paint, I'm taking my Rosa Gallery and my Roman Schmall palettes. I've put together a tub of my favourite watercolour markers. So there's a mixture of Ecoline, Winsor and Newton, and there's some Faber-Castell ones as well in there. I'll put that in a minute. I've just got some deli paper to separate any oil pastel pictures that I do. I'm taking the Derwent, it's the Line and Wash paint set, partly because it's got some of the Inktense paints in, and I was recently looking at the Inktense range and I quite enjoyed the paints, so I thought it'd be nice to have a little play with these. Part of the reason that I'm taking so much stuff is, well, one, because I'm a bit over the top like that, but 2, I'm going to have 6 weeks and I can actually spend most of that time doing art. And also I'm going to be living in a lovely part of the world, and I think I'm going to want to do quite a bit of art, and I don't want to be limited. I also just thought it'd be nice to spend some time swatching and actually really enjoy my paints. So that's why I've taken all of them. I've got my Cardi Fat pad, just for the nice loose kind of painting that I like doing. I've taken 2 books, a painting calm book that I showed in my last video, and then Watercolour Freedom by Irit Landgraf. I'm also taking quite a bit of watercolour paper. I've got a few different pads. There's Academy, some Arche, and then just some Canson watercolour. Plus I'm taking quite a few sketchbooks, so 100% cotton etcher. I'm taking my 2C Whites journals because one of them's nearly full up, so I'll probably finish that on holiday. And then a couple of different sizes of Art Creations books for more scribbly stuff. I'm taking my little palette that's got gouache paints in it. They're quite dried up now, so that'll be an interesting experiment how I get on with them. But I like the water pot that comes with that set as well. So, and then I've got my more compact water tub. My micro painter, portable painter micro, and my other portable painter, because that's got different paints in it once again. Then I'm actually taking some stamping stuff. So I've got a fun stamp set for swatching out paints, and then I've got a couple of stamp sets which I think will work well with watercolours in one way or another. So a nice hairs one, kind of a birthday cake. I like the idea of doing like loose watercolour splodges with a birthday cake stamped on top. And then some more little cartoony type stamps that I think will work well with watercolour as well. And then a foam mat as a stamping background. I'm just taking 1 ink pad of waterproof black ink, and then a stamp block. I've got my little granulating watercolour paint set. Got a couple of reusable paper towels and a ruler. My carbon ink to go with my fountain pen. And then this is the new paintbrush roll that I showed in my recent haul video. I just picked out all my favourite paintbrushes in there. I might possibly go through them in a video while I'm away, because I don't think I've talked too much about my paintbrushes yet. Then, so that's the paper. And then in here I've got my luminance and a couple of Holbein coloured pencils. And the other thing I've got in the tub is this pencil case. Do you like my little colour wheel badge? So I also recently reviewed my Derwent Lightfast pencils, and I've picked out, I think about 20 colours that I really like, which I don't have anything similar to in my luminance set. So supplementing the luminance with those. Got the slice tool for scratching out patterns in oil pastel. And then I've got all kinds of pens and other tools. So I've got a couple of fine liners. And these are all the pens that I'll use for putting lines over watercolour paintings. I also bought a few Foodie Pentel Touch kind of calligraphy pens. just in case I feel like doing a bit of calligraphy. I've got my dip ink pen. I've got a few travel paint brushes, a couple of acrylic markers and a waterproof marker. A couple of my favourite pencils, Pentel P205s, and some leads for them. And I've got a little cylinder with spare erasers for those as well. I've got clips for my Go sketching board, some detail scissors, a couple of glue sticks and pen. That's the masking marker that I reviewed in my recent video. Then another white pen, water brush, another scratchy tool for oil pastels, a couple of washi tapes and an eraser. And still in the same bag that I packed to take my sharpener to Nepal, this system works so well when I just sharpen the pencil actually in the bag, and then that's all kept nice and clean and out of the way and empty when I get home. So yeah, that's that's everything I'm taking with me. We've yet to see if everything else we need to take is going to fit in the car, as well as my art box. Oh, and I'm also taking my quilting bag along with me as well, because I work on a hand quilt whenever I go away to France. And my son's worked out that at the rate I'm going, it's going to take me till I'm 92 to finish it. I'll show you that in a later video as well. Right, I'll get this put away then and we can look at the Mungyo oil pastels. Actually, there's nothing in the back. I don't have an awful lot of information in English, just that they're extra soft, water-soluble oil pastels. So I'm just going to swatch them out and I'll do a quick comparison with Mungyo's non-water-soluble oil pastels. First off, it seems like they're a lot harder and you can't really blend them out very well, just like that. I'll do a few of the others, see if they're all the same consistency. It's got some green in it somehow. That one feels a little bit softer. Okay, that one's a lot softer. It seems like this yellow one is super hard. Yeah, these others are much softer. Okay, so before I get rid of the crumbles from them, you can probably see that there was quite a bit of difference in the consistencies. So a couple of them, the yellow, these greens, the light blue, were really, really hard, almost like colour pencil kind of hardness. A couple were very crumbly, and then a few were very, very soft and creamy. Okay, I'll just see how they blend into each other with a couple of the slightly softer ones. Okay, so it seems like the purple was softer than the pink and kind of took over it. I'll just try out a similar thing with the artist's soft oil pastels. So the actual oil pastels from Mungyo kind of feel much smoother, and they're not softer, but they blend much more smoothly. And across the oil pastel range, they're very, very consistent. So in their own right, I wouldn't say that they were particularly pleasant oil pastels to use, though I do like the shape of them. I like the wrapper on them, that's fine. It's just got the name and the number. But let's see what they swatch out like as water oil pastels. So they release the pigment pretty easily. Some of the problem is that the sticky bits of crumble that you can't get off just by blowing the sheet cause problems when you're re-wetting it, because they're just kind of sitting in there. I'm just seeing with this one whether you can actually wash away all of the original marks or if you're left with some kind of line. It looks like if you carried on going you could wash off most of the pigment. Let me try and show you this one. So you can see a bit of the original lay down area around here. But you can remove a good amount of it. Just put my colour swatch back in. That's a really nice colour. And this one's not releasing its pigment as happily. So these ones that were quite hard in their consistency, the light blue and these two greens, they're giving up their pigment a lot less easily as well when they're wet. That's nice. Okay, so the other thing I'll do is just a quick comparison with the only other water-soluble pastel-y type things that I've got, and that's the Neo Colour 2s. So these are a lot harder, though actually they're not dissimilar from the hardest ones of the Mungyos. Though you don't get, well, you get very little crumble off of the Neo Colour 2s. Okay, in fact this yellow is harder than the Neo Colour 2s even. So that's what they look like in laydown. And I think actually, I'll just check, but I think the Neo Colour 2s, they give up most of their pigment quite readily. But again, you can see they do leave a little bit of this initial laydown area behind. Oops. Let's put a bit of big pigment back on. But the Neo Colour 2s are very pigmented, very smooth. Sorry, I made a bit of a mess of the red on this one. And the softer Mungyos definitely release a nice amount of pigment. But these harder ones, less so. Oh, the colours blend nicely. I feel like I should do this Neo Colour 2s again because I made such a mess of that one. Oops, I flooded that one a bit. Yeah, so this was just a very quick tryout of the Mungyo Aquarelle oil pastels. Gosh, that's a tongue twister. I had to cut out like 2 or 3 times for trying to say that. The pros of the set, I think they're pretty inexpensive. I'll have to go and look up how much it cost. I can't remember because it was so long ago that I ordered them. I think they're a really nice range of colours and cover all your bases pretty well for a 24 set. They're nice vivid colours, and all but the hardest 3 or 4 crayons do release a nice amount of pigment quite easily. On the con side though, I didn't particularly enjoy the inconsistency between them, and they're not brilliant at blending. I think the amount of crumb that they produce and how hard it is to remove before you've even used water would probably put me off wanting to use them in my sketchbooks. which is kind of the way I use the Neocolor 2s. So I'm glad I've had the chance to try them out, but I think on the whole this will be a product that I like using when my nieces and nephews come and play. I think I'd much prefer just to stick with the Mungyo soft pastels and the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s separately. I don't particularly see an occasion when these will be super useful, but I would love to hear from you if you enjoy them and how you use them, because there might well be something that I'm missing out. Well, thanks ever so much for watching, and hopefully you'll join me again when I make some videos from France. Bye!